When I think of mixed ethnicities, I think of
Progressive society. I think that when people are able to get beyond the cultural boundaries that they grew up with.
I think of most people, like, I think now we're coming to a point where most people are mixed in this world, and, a lot of people, like, don't recognize that.
I think of beauty and tolerance, but on the other hand, I think of, like, ignorance and intolerance.
Kind of a mixture, like an amalgamation of cultures and backgrounds, and also a lot of contradiction in a way. Not like bad contradiction, but good contradiction.
It's more about spreading cultural diversity, I think.
A lot of people think I'm Mexican, especially the Asians think I'm white. Other people that are mixed, especially half Asian, half white, they usually get it right away. They could tell that I'm part Asian.
I've gotten like Hawaiian, which I was like, okay, no, definitely not.
people assume that I'm black and Japanese, black and white, Ethiopian, Native American.
I'll get, like, from Filipinos, they'll be like, oh, you're just Filipino.
I usually get that I'm full black. I've gotten Indian. I've gotten Dominican.
They assume I'm just, I guess, white in general of some kind.
People thought I was like Puerto Rican or Mexican and black, or I don't know, just something else.
For people to think that I look ambiguous, it seems kind of powerful for me because they have that desire to know, and they really want me to tell them. Sometimes I'll make it difficult, like, oh, I'm just a person, I'm just human. And also they don't know how to treat me. Like, they can't refer back to, like, any stereotypes or to any, like, people that they know because they don't know what race I am, so they don't know what to assume about me, which I think is a good thing.
Like, I know in high school and, like, growing up, I was always, like, very confused because I grew up with, like, a lot of, like, Mexican and Latinos.
Because, like, when I grew up in Costa Rica, like, Costa Ricans, I think they're, like, not racist, but they, like, discriminate with Asian people.
Growing up, like, in elementary, middle school, and high school in LA, I did experience a lot of confusion because, like, at schools, they separate themselves. Like, black people hang out over here, white people, like, they separate themselves by race, so you really feel like you have to choose, where you want to go.
Because of growing up with my mom, I most closely identify with the Hispanic culture, like Mexican stuff. Because El Salvador is very similar to Mexico with the culture, but I know I don't fit in, like, in appearances wise, and like it's funny because when I'm at home with them, it's like all these like El Salvadorians walking around, and then this like Slavic Russian looking kid walking around, that everybody's like doting over.
I've experienced a lot of confusion with my identity. Up until middle school, I thought I was just black, and I never understood why everyone was like, oh, but what else are you? Like, I didn't understand that I looked different from all the other black girls at my school.
Sometimes, like, when I'm with Asian people and they start throwing around Mexican jokes, it kind of gets me. It's like I can see where they're coming from, though, because I've seen all the stereotypes of both sides of my family. Some of them are true, some not so much. So they start throwing those around, and, I got to put them straight a little bit, just have some respect. Mexican side, they'll do the same thing about the Asian people, but, I think I've been able to help them learn culturally what it's like to be from these other races.
It's like there's times when I don't feel like I really belong to either, because I am half and half. Like, clearly when I'm hanging out with my white friends, I'm not white. I don't look like I'm white, but when I'm hanging out with my black friends, it's like, oh, they'll joke and be like, oh, that's because you're not black or whatever, and I'm like, well, I'm half.
It's just like among groups of friends, so like if I'm hanging out with black friends, they say a lot of stereotypical things about Mexican people, and I don't know if it's like because they kind of assume that I'm not part of that group, or even around like my Latino friends, oh, you're different from other black girls, or like black people this, black people that. So I guess like a lot of the racism that I experience is because people assume that I'm one thing, or they don't view me as being part of that category.
Being mixed is hard to fit yourself into a category. Like, you're a category of your own.
A lot of my Asian friends would, like, if I did something successful, like I got into a good school, or it's like the girls liked me or whatever, they'd say, oh, it's because you're white, it's because you're white, And I guess sometimes it felt like they weren't giving me credit for being me for whatever I did, but rather that it was just because of my race.
Like, they ask me what I am, and then when they suppose that I'm full Hispanic, and I tell them that I'm half Asian, they're always like, oh, you're half Asian, and they get all, like, interested and all excited, and I'm like, yeah, like it's like it's kind of like makes me doubt myself. I'm like, well, if I wasn't half Asian, would I just be too regular for you to say that I'm special if I'm just like full Latino?
There's the Hispanic frat or whatever, and I saw them on Library Walk, and I thought about going over there, and I was like, well, they don't look too friendly right now, because they're all standing like this with their back turned to everybody. I'm like, they don't look like they really want anyone, and I think I might have some trouble convincing them that I'm mixed like them, so I didn't even bother.
I remember them like when I got to college and they saw that I was hanging out with like Filipinos or like other like different ethnic groups. They're like, "Oh, why are you hanging out with them? Like, you're Mexican, or you're not Mexican enough because you're hanging out with these people, or you're starting to act like that."
Just like when when I'm walking around, like especially in Oakland, like Latino people always speak to me in Spanish, and like when they hear that I'm like Belizean, they're kind of like, "Oh, whatever," and then when they hear I can't speak Spanish, they're like, "Oh, whatever," and they like stop talking to me altogether. It's like, okay, I can't talk to you in English.
I think when I was in high school, I was pressured, or not pressured, but I just felt like I had to be more white. Like, I never wore my hair curly. It was always straightened and, wore just clothes like everybody else. But now I feel a little more comfortable embracing my blackness, or what do you want to say?
So I recently did a little video for the Border Patrol. Like, I was pretending to be an agent. I got cast as a border agent. So I had to drive to the border to go to the big headquarters or whatever. And on my way back, driving, I got stopped by the Border Patrol. And he asked me if I was a U.S. citizen. And I was just like, yeah, yes, I am.
So I was in Quest, which is the magnet program at my high school. And so we have field trips every year. So we went to Catalina. And then I was just talking to this one of my white friends, and she was like, "Yeah, you're gonna be so delusional after this," because it was like an exhausting trip. That you're just gonna walk up to a white lady and be like, "Hey, mom," and I was like, "My mom is white. Like, that's kind of awkward."
Like, let's say my aunt, when I went to go visit her in Japan, she always used to tell me I had like a big belly and I was kind of fat, and I think it's because like most Japanese women are like really, really skinny, and I'm like, my mom's Latino, and like, they're like voluptuous body type.
There are real advantages to being mixed. Like for me, like I don't really get discriminated a lot, like in the mainstream of the United States or anything, but because of my Hispanic status, I'm able to slip through the cracks and get like, minority style like grants and scholarships,
It's not even advantages. I wouldn't call them advantages, but it's kind of fun in a way. Like, there's something fun about it because people don't know, and I think that sense of mystery maybe excites some people in a way. Like, some of the people I've met, it seems like they're intrigued almost by it, and this is going like kind of purely off looks, which is sad, but that's very much like how people perceive people.
Going to a Mexican restaurant, I walk in with all the Asians, but as soon as I start speaking Spanish, throws them back and like, "Oh, what's up?" And then you try to ask for the little fixings on the side, all the salsas and all that good shit.
A lot of people treat me different when they find out that I'm mixed. I feel like for the most part it is a positive reaction. People are really interested in getting to know me. They want to know, which parent is which, where I was born, what types of food I eat. Can I cook soul food? Can I make lumpia? So I mean, for the most part it's a good reaction, but it bothers me that people like me more based on what ethnicity they find out I am, rather than just me as a person.
Korean side too as well. I mean, when I go into the Korean restaurants, that of course I stand out in the crowd, but then once they see me using chopsticks and I'm fluent with that, I'm dipping into all the little side dishes, and I think that really helps them appreciate it, because it's like, oh, he is Korean and he knows about the culture.
And I think like that's a positive thing, like for someone being like multi-ethnic, is you get to see things from a few different perspectives.
It's an interesting trip because you do go through those times of like identity crisis, like I don't know what I am, I don't know how I should act, but in the end there's so many, like I feel like I can hang out with anyone and kind of just blend, and maybe that's just me, but I think it's for a lot of people, and so I think that's a big advantage.
My personality and everything else can be more fluid. Like, I'm not expected to be a certain way or act a certain way.
Overall, I love being mixed, and I love being able to go salsa dancing and know how to salsa dance, and being able to cook like a home Japanese meal, like, and I love those two things because I feel like very diverse. And in today's world, it's good being diverse. So, yeah, I like it.
The disadvantages, of course, are that, you know, people will assume I'm not really all there. Like, there will be Koreans that say, oh, but you're only half Korean, so you don't really know the whole thing. Or you're only half Mexican, so you don't know really what it's about. And it's kind of, that kind of irritates me because I do know what it's like. I've been to Mexico, I've been to Korea, not just Tijuana or, you know, touristy spots. I mean, I've been down south, like, you know, little pueblos in Mexico, like, was, you know, population 500 people. I got cousins there, and it's like, I've seen the best and the worst of both worlds, and I'm hoping I can just be able to bridge all of that and really formulate, like, a true identity of what it means to be American, because, to be honest, my mix doesn't really exist outside of America. It just doesn't really happen too much.
Sometimes it may be hard to fit in, like the Chinese people don't view you as really Chinese, but at the same time, I feel like I can mesh with a lot of different groups at the same time.
Growing up as a mixed child can be a big struggle, and if you have an outside perspective, like even my own mom didn't know, like, that she didn't think it was a big deal. So I guess being aware of the issue and then also modeling acceptance and understanding.
So like nothing of my like biological nature really, I don't feel like it really determines who I am. It determines a lot of the what and what my limitations are and what I can do, but it's what I do with those limitations and within my boundaries and stuff that defines who I am and my personality and stuff like that.
Overall, I love being mixed. Like I said, I feel like I get the best of all three worlds. I'm really proud of it. I try to let everybody know that I'm triracial.
I would just say embrace who you are, because you can't change it, so you might as well embrace it. And there's a lot of beauty within everyone.
My name is Alexander John Westy. I'm half Chinese, quarter Serbian, and eighth German, a little English, Irish, and Scottish.
My name is Elisa Villanueva, and I am Black, Belizean, and Mayan.
My name is Alyssa Peace, and I am Costa Rican and Italian.
My name is Christian Miles Dela Cruz, and I am Black, Puerto Rican, and Filipino.
My name is Demetrius Dimucci, and I am Czech, Italian, and El Salvadorian.
My name is Alicia Magana, and I am Black and Mexican.
My name is Jacqueline Hayata, and I am Costa Rican and Japanese.
My name is Jasmine Phillips, and I am Black and white.
My name is Maddie Lucas, and I am Mexican and Filipino.
My name is Marcelo Chunghun Ortiz, and I am Korean and Mexican.
My name is Tanya Shanti Gut, and I am half East Indian, quarter Norwegian, and quarter South African.